Nearly forgot my microphone then. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Hot Wall. A special welcome if you tried to join us on Tuesday, and I'm sure you all know, but we had some technical difficulties. BT's internet seemed to just die for some reason, but we are back, and to make up for Tuesday's failure on the technical side, we're going to be streaming till about 4:45 or so. So we're going to be here for the next few hours, ranking shirts, and already a couple of familiar faces. Brock says good morning. Good morning to you, Brock, from the States. And Haunted Voyager. Good to see you, my friend. I don't think I've seen you the last couple of streams. Good to see you. Anyone else who's lurking in the background? If you are someone who's just watching, not commenting necessarily, it would mean the world if you could subscribe. Any subscriber, every subscriber I should say, goes a long way to helping support my work. I work for myself, I work freelance, so things like the number of subs I have, it actually really helps with things like getting sponsors and finding new work. So honestly, every YouTuber or aspiring YouTuber says the same thing, but it doesn't cost anything, so why not subscribe if you haven't already? I'm sure most of you have, but if you haven't, hit that subscribe button. And of course, the other great way, similar to that, is to like a video. Liking the video helps more people see it on YouTube. And you can also leave a comment on the video, but likes especially are really good, especially to get people in to the video. Some great questions already. We have Brock saying, G-Clet, have any rugby shirts? I don't have many rugby shirts. I do have a couple. I've got a couple of all black shirts. As you know, someone who's part Kiwi, I've even got Kiwi citizenship, so of course I'd have a few rugby shirts in my collection, but a couple of all black shirts, that's it. No club rugby shirts. I don't have an England one even. But then Brock follows up saying, did you see the Harlequin shirt? I did, and I commented about it on Twitter. I mean, it's Castor really, I think, with a lot of their problems, I would say. Trying to do too many things. Well, usually their problem is not doing a lot of anything good, but in this example it was an odd combination of things, and the stitched down collar, I wasn't particularly buying that. Yeah, they're not the only ones who've done that sort of thing, but yeah, in short, Harlequins are one of those really good teams for shirts, rugby jerseys usually. Didn't particularly like that version. Gareth Price says, hi all, first of all during live. Great to have you here, Gareth. Everyone say hi to Gareth. And yeah, I'm sure you enjoy this, Gareth. I always say as well to anyone here, ask me any questions in the chat as we're going through. And whether you want to leave a comment and debate my choices as I'm ranking the shirts, or you just want to ask a question, just chuck it in. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. Andy as well, from Jackson's Jerseys. Shout out to Andy, who's recently just started his own YouTube channel, and he's got a couple of great unboxing videos. So I would really recommend, I think, am I right in saying it's the name on your account there, Andy? Jackson's Jerseys. So guys, check that out. New channel started by Andy, one of my friends on here, and a good supporter of the channel for a long time. So show some love to him, subscribe to him. That'll be really cool. Also John Carr as well, he says, I woke up for this. What a better way. What better way to start the day, I should say. As I'm talking, I realise I left my water in the other room. I'll be right back. For the sake of, to pretend I'm a professional stream, I will put us on the pause scene for literally about 20 seconds. Be right back, guys. Water before we get to it. A couple more comments and then we'll get to the wall. John Costa says, I have a GAA shirt or GAA shirt, I don't know how they say it, but pizza by accident in the church, didn't know what it was. Nice. Yeah, I that world is completely new to me, but I have seen pictures from time to time in the likes of Museum of Jerseys, who of course is one of the really the leading experts in football shirts. He's Dennis who runs that, he talks about that as well. So I've had some exposure to that, and I've liked a lot of what I've seen. Hydration break indeed, Hortimoja. No problem, Andy, no problem at all. So guys, we've got the wall. I will switch us over now, and you can see this is the hot wall. I think by now we kind of know the drill. My favourite shirt's on the right in this volcano tier, as we've dubbed it, and on the left The shirts I don't like so much. It's a very congested list. It's getting harder and harder to spot shirts. But it's kind of the way I like it. I mean, we are definitely later on in the year when things slow down. I will look at potentially having a bit of a rejig. In one sense, moving some shirts which maybe I like a bit more in hindsight, and vice versa, shirts which I ranked quite highly, maybe even in the Volcano tier, which I think actually probably don't quite deserve to be as high as I initially ranked them. So we'll do a bit of a rejig soon. I say soon, maybe kind of September, October, when things die down a little bit. But yeah, if we just pick up where we left off, so I think we're going to be. Let's just check. We only did a few on Tuesday, didn't we? Copenhagen. Looks like it was FC Copenhagen. And talking of Copenhagen, in a similar vein, and I say similar because it's not the same as I found out. If you haven't seen, there's a new Behind the Chevrons, guys. There's a new episode of Behind the Chevrons, and I'm really excited about this because it's all about Brøndby, or Brøndby as you may know them. But this is, I think, an episode which many of you will enjoy because it's talking about the Brøndby kits from this year. So this year's home and away, the away, which we'll come on to, I think, this episode or this afternoon, and it's going to, I can tell you now, it's going to be in the Volcano tier because I absolutely love it. So check out Behind the Chevrons if you haven't already. That episode has just gone live, and it's a really good look at the shirts and just talking about the club. So go and check that out if you haven't already. Brøndby are of course Danish, rivals of FC Copenhagen. But anyway, let's get to Werder Bremen. Now this shirt, which has been out for a couple of weeks, of course, got a lot of buzz for the colour combo. Look at this. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a shirt and short combo in that colour. It's quite a lot to take in. Honestly, even though it's very fresh and it's quite an original shade, this kind of peach, particularly when paired with that kind of sage green. Points for originality. I can't say I really like the combo, or at least I think the shirt in itself looks pretty smart. With the shorts, I'm not sure, but it's definitely, it is fresh, and it's nice to see a shirt that isn't just another black and gold shirt, isn't just another mint shirt. We see plenty of those. So I think points for originality. I think the bit that I don't, well, the choice of this sage colour it's a bit of a clash with the club crest, and the sponsor to another degree. You've kind of got 4 shades of green there. That just kind of happens, but it's kind of a little bit much, like especially with the shorts. I'm going to stick it in the counter tier. I don't think I can put it much higher than that personally, but already great to see some comments here. Brock says he loves the Bremen shirt. Colours are wow. The colours are definitely wow. I'll give you that. Sorry, and then Haunted Voyager says really odd kit. So yeah, guys, I think it is one of those where I don't think, just looking at this list, is there another shirt in this colour? I don't even think there is. And if there is, I'm forgetting about it. I can't say I'm sort of head over heels for it, but it is definitely memorable. And it's rare that you see a colour which is so distinct. These days with so many shirts, and obviously with social media, we see a lot of different kits. Just on this list alone, we've got about 800, 900 kits. So I'm going to put it in this tier, in kind of the middle of the counter tier. It is again, the originality really does bump this one up. But I can't say I don't think it's a hot kit. That's my take. What do you guys think? I mean, again, some really good comments here. Broxton, you see the point about different shades of green. Yeah, I'm a bit picky with stuff like that. It's not necessarily, especially in some light, it doesn't look as bad. But yeah. John Carr says pink, peach. Either way, it needs something else to make it pop. Yeah, it's quite a soft shade, isn't it? Quite a kind of subtle shade. I think actually, oh man, that sleeve sponsor's pretty ugly. But anyway, we'll move on to Benfica. Yeah, no, I think it's quite a wearable shirt, despite how weird it is. Maybe that's a bit of a, you know, maybe what do you call, undermining what I'm saying there. George says the colour reminds you of something you'd wear on a holiday rather than yeah, exactly. That was what I was trying to get at. As always, you guys help explain what I'm trying to say. Just going back to a comment from Gareth as well, saying I have a couple of rugby shirts. Wales, my team, in a vintage calendar one from '99. Oh, very nice. I can't think what that would even look like. Gareth, that's great. I can recommend browsing Macron's site for its tier 2 nations. Yeah, Macron are great with their rugby shirts. Although, as you say, it can be expensive. Now, the Benfica shirt, honestly, doesn't do much for me here. I don't think, even though this colour, it's quite a nice shade, but it really does scream goalkeeper shirt to me. I think often single colour shirts like this as well, there's nothing wrong with a single colour shirt, but both the colour and the pattern, this really looks like it was an Arsenal or a Manchester United goalkeeper shirt for me. And the pattern indeed is quite similar to I think it's different, am I right in saying, to the Arsenal home shirt from a couple of years ago. But I have a feeling this isn't bespoke. I can't remember, but honestly, it doesn't look like a great kit. And Benfica don't often get a good deal with Adidas. I mean, for a club as big as Benfica, they're a historical club, one of the biggest teams in Portugal, of course, but they really haven't had a lot of good kits with Adidas. They've had a couple, but honestly, this one, I mean, I think I'm even going to put it in the Ice Cube tier. Maybe it seems harsh, but it just, I mean, what is this? The away kit as well. Yeah. You want better. It's a plain back as well, as if to add insult to injury. So I think this is an Ice Cube, guys. I think this isn't a hot shirt. Very goalkeeper shirt for me. Yeah, that's a shout, actually, John Carson. Looks like an MLS Kit Cancer shirt. It does a bit. It does kind of look like that shade, doesn't it? Yeah, no, that is actually a shout. And Andy saying, is this Arsenal's away shirt reacher from Company's Gate? Indeed. It does look like a short sleeve keeper shirt, kind of bruised banana like. Exactly, and I think that's the thing. It looks like a nod to the bruised banana. I mean, if you look up close on the pattern, I typically kind of like these grainy patterns. That they don't necessarily look very good up close like this. A little bit, they look a bit pixelated, but those can produce quite nice overall aesthetics. But not for me, this one. And the third kit is another stock pattern. I think Leon, am I right in saying they released a fourth? I think they called it a fourth kit last year, which was quite a nice. In fact, it would be on this. It will be on this list, won't it? Because it was released in 2022, despite being used for a game last year. Because we are including shirts released last season, but this calendar year. So I'm just going to quickly scan through. I reckon it. There we go. I'm always satisfied when I can actually correctly find a shirt. So here we have the if I get to 100% with a bit of high quality, we have the Leon Fourth shirt in the same pattern as this. Now again, same patterns aren't necessarily a problem, and this hasn't been saturated or overused just yet. But that detail is interesting, but a bit too subtle. There's nothing about this. I'd honestly probably take this over the away. I might just about nudge it into the canal tier. But then again, playing back is annoying. It's, a personal bugbear of mine. I'll sneak it in because again, I think that pattern actually has something about it from distance. But yeah, Gareth. Benfica should go back to Hummel. That would be great. I mean, I'm biased, but that would be so good. Just anyone, basically, other than Adidas. Yeah, very disappointing shirt. I would take this over the away, and I think for that reason, I'm going to nudge it into this third tier, the canal tier. I think. If we do end up seeing this exact pattern though on a number of other teams, which we probably will next season, that's just the Adidas way of things. Yeah, it would easily fall down, but that's the Benfica away, and third, not exactly a stellar offering. And that's come to Parma, one of my favourite teams in Italy. A team I have a lot of fondness for. And he says, surprised me if they are big enough now themselves to have more bespoke style shirts. Indeed, they're like on the cusp. They're one of those teams who really they should be getting more bespoke kits. And I think in this example, in Red Star's, not Red Star, in Benfica's example, I've got Red Star in my mind. Benfica's example, fans should be clamouring for more. They're a big team. They're a big team who are in the often in the Champions League. Yeah, it's like last year when did they beat Ajax? Or they had a really good run, didn't they? And their kits were just very average. Right, we come to Parma. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. As much as I love Parma, and I love the blue and yellow hoops, which of course used to be their home colours in the 90s. I think this is an example to me, a bit like when we talk about how difficult it is to innovate striped shirts. Hoops kind of fall in the same category. A creative take with the zigzags, but it's not really for me. I don't love the overall look. Lightning bolt vibes like this, it gives off quite an esports vibe. Now, I don't think this is a bad shirt. I actually don't mind this style of collar. This is the kind of style of collar which has kind of grown on me. It's not for everyone, but I actually would take this over, say, a one-button collar. Like, in terms of, from to rank collar styles, this one, honestly, I don't know what you'd call it. A kind of, well, it's just where you've just got that, the flappy portion of the collar. No placket or anything like that. I kind of like that. So, the shirt, it's a fun take on the away, and it is an away, so you can, and it's hard. It is hard to innovate, but it's not really for me. I don't know if it's the combination, like the kind of uneven gradients. It's very, to me, it's a bit messy. I'd honestly put it on the lower end of the counter tier, but a lot of time for Parma. Again, I think in this example, they've tried something different on there, but it's not really to my taste. John Carl as well on Adidas saying, Adidas don't really do bespoke. Today's bespoke is tomorrow's template. Sadly, Adidas are probably the best example of that, or the worst example of that. In that regard, they do, all the big brands do it, but I think Adidas is perhaps more flagrant than the other big brands. So yeah, it does hurt. And Andy saying either both logo and crest essential or neither looks lopsided. Yes, please do a collar style ranking video. Yeah, that's a good shout, Brock. I should add that to the list. Yeah, you're right, Andy, about the lopsidedness. That's a good point. I would expect there to be an additional sponsor. I think from memory, Parma have done that before. I can't think of the name of it, but I have a feeling they would stick in a sponsor there. But yeah, without the sponsor, it does look imbalanced. So honestly, quite low for me on this tier. We're going to stick it down here. I'd expect more from Parma, but it is difficult. If they want to go with the blue and yellow, there's only so many ways they can do it. Let's come to Palermo. Now, Palermo are with Kappa, and they've been doing some interesting stuff. They do suffer, like a lot of teams, with a lot of sponsors on their kits, but they do adapt them quite well. And we'll take the sponsorless versions here, but you can kind of apply the rankings, I think, either way. Very interesting set of kits, because it's not just, one, we've got laces, and laces are not common in today's game. Two, and I don't know, I think I'm right in saying there's an interesting kind of pattern. On the home and the third. If we start with the home, kind of a slight distressed look, and it also looks a bit shiny. And again, I'm just trying to look at these pictures here. There's quite a lot going on here. Now, I don't love laces, but there is a novelty factor here. Lewis, good to see you, mate. I'm doing well. I hope you are too. Thanks for stopping by. Sorry. Yeah, I don't love laces, but in this example, there is something about it. I think it distinguishes itself anyway from the masses. And even though I'm not usually overly enamoured with a kind of distress pattern, but I kind of dig the shininess of it. It has to me, I don't know if it's actually the material or if it's just the pattern giving that effect. I kind of like it. Now again, laces aren't really to my taste, but honestly, I think you could say, well, I think I'm going to steep this into the flames tier. I think this is actually quite hot. Now, if I was a laces guy, if you like, this could be much higher. But as is, I think this is a really interesting piece. And obviously Palermo, one of the best colorways, or at least the most distinctive colorways. But I do quite like the pink and black. Obviously a number of teams have since used that. I'm thinking of teams like Inter Miami and MLS, and there's other teams who play in pink. But Palermo, one of the OGs, if you like, one of the pioneers of that colorway. So I really like this. Do I like it enough to put it higher up in the hot tier, in the flames tier? No, I think again, like the laces isn't sort of really my jam, but I still think this is quite a hot shirt. So I'd happily put this up here. I think this, again, there's a lot to it. It's more than just the laces. You've got this pattern and the shine. The shirt just looks a bit shiny. I really like that. Lewis has noticed the Reading Tub in the Thunder looks much better when playing as well than yesterday. Oh, I need to check that out, Lewis. I need to see some pictures. I've not seen that on picture. Andy says, love laces. The difference a sponsor makes Palermo is crazy. Unsponsored is so much better. It is, although again they do a good job of recoloring their various sponsors, so I don't think it detracts too much. But I hear you. The away, now this has a really interesting integration of the Kappa logo there, the way it's actually kind of rounded off the space there, kind of novel. The crest in the pink sits kind of directly on top. In some ways, I'd probably rather it was consistent, and you had the Kappa logo in this sort of, again, directly on the stripe, on the braces. I quite like this. I don't like it as much as the home. I think, because it's quite flat, you kind of really have to buy into this braces look and it's kind of lives or dies on that. It's not registering as much as the home, but I do still think this is good. I'll stick it a tier down though. In the candle tier, but not a bad away shirt at all. I mean, obviously, again, you've got that lovely color scheme reversed now with the black and the pink. Black as being the primary color here, and pink is the secondary. It's good. It's a good shirt. And again, I mentioned the sponsors before on the home. It's the same deal with the away. All the sponsors are pink in this example. It's good though, and we don't see many braces in world football. So I think I'm sort of thinking somewhere around here, kind of higher end of the counter. Looks like suspenders, indeed, Brock, indeed. Rave, good to see you, Rave. Tram lines. That's you know what, Gareth? That's a much better way of putting it. Tram lines. Think of the great Admiral kits of the day. So there's some real nostalgia there as well with that effect. And then we finish with the third, a really interesting way to round it off. Even though I don't love the pattern, I think it's a really nice trio. Interesting to see the crest in 3 different colours, and interesting to see what I think is the same collar style on each, obviously different colours, and we don't have the laces, but I think this is again in the counter tier. I'll probably knock it a tad below the away, but as a trio it's really strong from Kappa. I think it's fair to say that, so this is the thing, guys. Contrast this with the Benfica kits, and I think it's night and day. I think Kappa have given Palermo the kind of treatment which Benfica should be getting, or other big clubs, and Palermo obviously aren't in Serie A at the moment. Are they even in Serie C? I'll say B, sorry. Did they get promoted? Or maybe they were always in B. Regardless, they're not in the top tier, but they're getting bespoke treatment. It's really good to see. And obviously, there's quite a lot going on in Serie B with the likes of Palermo and now Venezia having come down from Serie A last year. So I'll stick it about in the middle there, but a really good set of kits for Palermo. let's come to Ajax. This, of course, has been it was leaked months and months ago, then even sold in Sports Direct months and months ago. So we've had a lot of time to look at it, a lot of time to get used to it. I think this is a really good shirt. I appreciate. I think because it's understated, you have to look at things like the color combinations and the details. And in this example, I think the shirt is missing a good back neck detail or a jock tag detail, but the colorway is pretty smart. And I do like the collar and cuffs, I should say. It's a very wearable shirt. Ajax really continuing their tradition of having at least one of their alternate shirts, which looks like it's kind of made almost as a streetwear piece. But I do think this is good, and I think it's small things like the fact the cuffs, I should say, sorry. Now, do they go all the way around, or do they stop in the middle? I think they go all the way around the end of the sleeves, and that sounds like an obvious thing, but lots of cuffs don't for whatever reason. Again, I might be wrong on that, but regardless, I think it's good. It's lacking those details to take it to the top tier. And gold, it's kind of overused, you could argue. Obviously, we talk a lot about black and gold, but I'm glad it isn't black. And indeed, Ajax have had black and gold kits themselves, so that would have been a route they could have gone down. Haunted Warriors, there's sort of a Moroccan pattern on the collar and cuffs. It does have a bit of a Moroccan vibe. To be honest, I didn't read the story about this. Let's have a look if there's a story about the colours. Also, any regulars, as a side point, might notice a couple of new tracks in the background music, in the same style as my new stuff. But yeah, enjoy that if you do notice it in the background. Yeah, so it's hard to play this song because I think I'm going to place it just in the hot tier. I do think, despite, again, we've seen it for a long time. So maybe the gloss has worn off, but I think it's just got enough for it. Again, it really does need something to take it to the next level, and I'm finding myself more and more convinced that shirts now, or kind of in the future, are going to really be separated by if they can use the body of the shirt to have a jacquard or a subliminal pattern to elevate it. Something like the new Brombu home shirt, which again you'll see on behind the chevrons, has that really nice shadow kind of chevron, very retro look, and that's the kind of thing which, and I think we even say it in the video, it completely elevates what would otherwise be quite a plain base and makes it into almost a feature. And in this example, and that's one of the best things about Nike vaping it and now Dry Fit ADV, or even Adidas Heat Ready, the top tier player spec shirts, which have these really nice, whether it's a jacquard or even just the uses of material or ventilation patterns. It doesn't even have to be a jacquard. It can just be something that takes and makes a large plain area of the shirt into a feature of the design. So anyway, I think that's something which I'm going to be talking about more, I think, as we go through. We'll stick this shirt. I do think it's actually pretty hot. Not top tier, but it's good. City's third shirt, which of course we've already seen of it in the Premier League. I kind of joked on Twitter at the time because this one, the marketing was all about being inspired by graffiti and the street art of Manchester, and I couldn't help but comment on the fact that Manchester street art is actually quite good. This does not represent it very well. I worked in Manchester for quite a few years, and there were times when I would just enjoy walking around the Northern Quarter and places like that, and other areas of Manchester, and you'd see really good street art. This just looks like a very half-assed tribute to I can't think of the year, but was it 96, 97, where it was the famous City third shirt, which they wore against Gillingham in the playoff final. You kind of got a nod to that, but it's not really a very good nod to that, because one of the things that made that so good was the use of the sky blue with the luminous shade. So there's not really much of that. It looks well, it basically just doesn't look very good. And I think especially with these shorts, but that's a separate comment. I mean, personally, and I don't know what you guys think, I'd actually take United's now infamous third shirt, which I think, given the Brentford result, will probably never be loved now by United fans, but I'd actually take that over this. I don't know. I don't think it's hard to make a luminous shirt really work. And again, I think because it doesn't. I'm not saying they should have remade that playoff shirt, that 90s shirt, but they could have definitely, I think, taken one of the strongest elements of it, which was that really daring use of the blue. I think that honestly made that shirt. Well, it made that shirt City. It made that shirt the classic that it's become, as garish as it was. This just doesn't have any of that. I'll stick it down here. There's worse shirts, but not many worse. Yeah, as Lewis jokes, very Huddersfield. I said exactly the same, Lewis. Huddersfield, when they got promoted to the Premier League in their player final, had a shirt which is a bit similar, and it was a Puma shirt. So yeah, John Carr says a road crew safety shirt indeed. Box saying, like that green shade, don't like the shirt. Yeah, the shade in itself I think has potential, but yeah. A couple more third shirts here from the Premier League. We'll come to Nottingham Forest now. Some people did tag me in this when it was released and said it was a bit bussy. It is a bit of a bussy pattern, and you guys know I'm quite partial to that. Not too sure about the colours. Like, they don't really do it for me. I think the combination of navy and the blue and this, I guess it's a red or pinky red. Hard to tell with the lighting here, but honestly, I think the pattern has legs, but the colourway doesn't really work for me as much. I mean, you see it here on the cuffs. I think what I assume is the same shade of blue and red. I just think with the base, honestly, I'd like to see this design with a few different base colours. And to be honest, maybe that wouldn't necessarily make a difference, to my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to. I guess as well with Nottingham Forest not having a sponsor, in some ways it's certainly better than a lot of sponsors out there. But it does often it's left some of their shirts looking a little bit plain. This one probably gets away with it more than the home and away. But no, overall, I think it's kind of high candle for me. I don't think. I feel like I should like it a lot more because it does have a kind of bussy aesthetic, but it's just the colour combo. I guess it's the navy base. Feels a little bit kind of tired. Navy isn't the easiest colour to use sometimes. That's not to say there aren't some good examples, and there's a few dark blue shirts that are high up on here, but in general, it's not my favourite sort of shade. It does look a bit training shirt, as Lewis says there, and that again isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I'm going to stick it here. I feel like that's kind of where it belongs. Sorry. Hood of Roger says, I actually kind of like this Forest shirt. I'm not sure I'd buy it, but it's not bad. I agree, it's not bad. It's definitely not bad. Yeah, I think there are better ones, but it's not bad at all. And John Carl says, didn't they promote the shirt with the photo of a player sitting on the bus? I think that was another shirt, John Carl, but I might be wrong. Brock saying, I like it. I think they've had really strong shirts. I have their orange-green shirt from a couple of years ago. Yeah, Forest have had some good treatment from Macron. Now, we come to the Southampton third shirt. A really interesting design here. At first I was quite confused, but then you see the story of it and it makes a lot of sense. Paying tribute to the RAF, the Royal Air Force, and Southampton. I don't know exactly the history, but in the blurb anyway, it talks about their affiliation or association with aviation. What I really like is when you stack this up against pictures of a Spitfire or other RAF planes, and you see the colours of the roundel symbol and of course you've got that under the sleeves. If anything, I would have liked to see that more, maybe on the collar, I would say collar, on the collar or the cuffs. But I think, again, like, you see these pictures, don't really understand, the lighting's terrible, and to me, as someone have had that problem on a few releases where their lighting's not very good. But anyway, but kind of in the cold light of day, if you like, I think it actually goes up in my estimations. And for quite a militaristic shirt, chevrons, it kind of makes sense. The chevron can be used, or has been used, of course, in things like medals and other kind of regalia. So in general, I mean, you know, the sponsor is a huge letdown here, but I think this is a really nicely executed concept. Is it one of my favourite shirts of the year? I don't think it is. I think the colour, even though it makes sense, doesn't wow me as a colour. But I do really like the concept, and I think the execution is good, and this is kind of what I like to see in a third shirt. Something a bit different. These aren't colours associated with Southampton, but it's a third kit, and I think, you know, again, I think Hummel have done a really good job. And the pattern, I could take or leave, but it doesn't detract from the shirt. I'd like to see more of those roundel colours, not like across the shirt, but like in the collar and the cuffs, or a little, you know, why not have the roundel nodded to in a detail, like a backnet detail or a drop tag detail. But this is really good. I think this is, you know, probably even kind of middle flames tier. I think this is hot. You know, it's the kind of shirt which, again, from a design perspective, I really like the direction they've gone down. And it's hard to come up with original ideas, but I think this was one that worked. Hunter Roger says the pattern, the green is cool indeed. Wessel says the sponsor is not matching the design. I assume this is in reference to, yeah, of course it is, because this doesn't have a sponsor. Yeah, I'd agree, Wessel. Andy Hughes, a Portsmouth fan, says I'm annoyed. I like the Southampton third shirt, but on the sponsor, yeah, fair play. I think it is good as well. Brock says those stripes on the side remind me of the current NLS training goalkeeper gear. Yeah, it definitely does have that vibe. Let's continue with Lincoln. Need to keep drinking. Now, we talked about sponsors that don't fit in with designs. This might be, well, it's certainly a contender for the least attractive sponsor in terms of colour. That has no business being on the shirt, but in terms of that yellow or green anyway. Herrera have done some sneakily good stuff for Lincoln, and I think this one has potential. I'm not, you know, this collar style, I'd rather it was an actual collar, but it's not too bad. Nice placement of the crest and the Herrera logo, which you'd expect. And unlike the Hartlepool experiment where it was kind of off centre and I didn't really like, this one's a lot more standard, although it does have a gradient. I don't hate it. Often gradients really do kind of irk me, but honestly in this example it's not too bad. The funny thing is though, even though it has a kind of slightly retro, quite a clean aesthetic, I look at the background of these Pumas and think that could have been an interesting pattern. And again, it would have been a completely different shirt, but I see this and you see the imp there and I think that's kind of quite cool. So the overall effect, I think it has to be kind of maybe lower candle, like it has enough, like I think the base colour of black and red isn't bad. The sponsor is horrible. Just from a colour perspective, it couldn't really clash more than it does. But Haunted Voyager says, I love their crest, someday I'll buy one of the shirts. Yeah, the crest is brilliant. The imp is a classic crest in English football. I think it always does. Well, I think it's nice to see in an era where crests are often quite samey, and they have the kind of Man City model. It's really nice to see crests like this which have character and have something about them in terms of it's a unique crest, that's for sure. I don't think there's any other crests with imps. There's a few with devils, but yeah, the imp does stand strong. No, this is good. I think I'm going to stick it here though. It's not the things at the sponsor, and honestly the gradient I don't think is a positive for the shirt. But overall, yeah, not far from being much better. Bordeaux, home and away. Yeah, John Carr says, you know it's lazy design when the wallpaper's more interested. Yeah, it's funny when that is the case. Very, very kind of, I mean, this is exactly what you'd expect from a Bordeaux shirt. And obviously, because so many Adidas, like every other Adidas team, if not every Adidas team, has a collar. I do like that the V or the chevron, I don't know what they call it actually. But that element of the shirt is actually stitched in. I think that adds a lot of quality, and when you see the shirt, you know, like this close up here, that honestly makes a big difference. If it was just print, I think you know you'd look at this shirt less favourably, or I would anyway. There's not much else to the design, but the overall look is good. I do actually think, you know, again, despite seeing the collar on every Adidas shirt, it feels like a nice fit here. And indeed, the pinstripes of the template here, or the base of the shirt, I should say, look good. I think almost by itself, the fact that's stitched in, genuinely, that for me takes it from probably to somewhere in the higher candle. It probably isn't far off the Flames tier. But I think because we've seen so many collars, I think Adidas overdid it. I get that they wanted to roll out for many of their teams, but it's literally been, well, almost every team, Adidas team, and I just it kind of loses any meaning for me, having it being so common, and like a lot of shirts, just no details, nothing really to separate it. Yeah, so I think we'll stick this right on the border here. But it's really good to see. I mean, look, there's another Adidas shirt with a collar, the Colo. Yeah, really good to see that as a stitched portion of the shirt. Other than that, I can't, you know, I'm not jumping up and down about it. I don't know, they don't usually have the V on the back, do they? Or maybe they do, but that would be interesting to see. Although obviously you wouldn't have it stitched. That would be confusing. John Cost says, what will the sponsor do to the chevron? That's a good question. I'll be very interested to see that. Wonderful says, it's a really clean shirt. I do like it. It is very clean. It definitely falls into that category. Anderson, love the home bordeaux as it is there. Has a brilliant vintage feel. Really like the Adidas collar neck. Cover sponsors have killed it. Yeah, in fact, can we see that actually? If I just quickly, let's just go to images and do the last 7 days. Past week. Interesting. So they've actually left the middle of the shirt quite free, and it's just on the top there. That's not too invasive, to be fair. Honestly, yeah, it's a clunky sponsor, and obviously it's quite busy. But you know what? When I see that there, I do think I'm going to bump this up into the Flames tier, just because I think for a home shirt. And again, it's a fine line. So something you can see here, there's a couple of other Adidas shirts in the mix. It's a fine line, but I do think it makes sense for a home shirt not to go crazy. And again, the stitched V makes all the difference. Now you see when we come to the away, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here, where the V or the chevron is actually sublimated into the body, and you lose out on that quality. And I think, you know, the colourway, I mean, it's an away colourway. Honestly, I prefer not only the home for the stitched element, but I actually prefer the placement there as well, personally, to this placement where it's a bit higher up. Even though there's a kind of pleasing element having the crest and the Adidas logo within that, I don't think it looks as good. Honestly, as well, the colour of the Adidas logo looks mismatched to the crest gold there. Again, that might just be me, or it might just be the lighting, but and the collar, yeah, I don't actually think it's better, even though we've seen so many of the flappy collars this year. this is an Ice Cube tier, and there's a whole tier in my mind between the home and away. But genuinely, I think it's kind of everything that the home was trying to do, but worse. Is how I would look at it. This kind of colour combo, not many teams roll with it. The white, maroon, and gold. And I think I'm right in saying Bordeaux have done that before, so it makes sense as a colourway, but honestly the shirt is inferior. There's PSG. I'd definitely take the PSG home over this. I think we have to put this down here. I might be being harsh, but I really do think it's a tale of two shirts there. Home, I think, actually does have something about it, and even though it's similar in some ways, the away I really don't like. Juventus Bordeaux does look to me like a rugby shirt. It definitely has that. Any shirt with a V definitely has that aesthetic. And he was looking at the sponsor last year. Was it Winamax? Did they have the giant? Or am I thinking of another French team? So we come to Deportivo. Very interesting pattern here. Looks like feathers, is it? Yeah, feathers or leaves, branches. I'm sure we could actually read here. Pine leaves rather. It's an interesting colour combo. Honestly, I get a dominant, very large sponsor, which Deportivo and other clubs have had. It is a local beer, so there is that, but it's not a good looking sponsor. I think, like, when I look at the promo shots here, that colourway to me is much better than what you see on the retail shots. And typically, not always, but typically you should base your judgment on colours with the retail shots, although sometimes they can be misleading. So I think the pattern, I think that just looks like a better shirt. Much stronger colourway there compared to this, and I quite like green in general, but this, the combo, it's not. I think that those shades just don't do it for me. There are some nice, again, the patterns on the back, and even though it's a subtle pattern, quite a subliminal pattern, those repeating leaves, good to see it on the back. I don't mind that back net detail. That's actually quite smart, to be honest. That's the kind of thing I like to see. And the Kappa logos on the side, not bad. So I think this one is probably kind of higher candle tier. Had the shirt a little more like this, I think we could be looking at a hot shirt. Almost it's a gold, doesn't it? There, it's just like that. Almost, I guess it's like a teal, or maybe even like a pine. It's a kind of a pine shade. It honestly feels more at home with the pattern than this much kind of more true green, which to me doesn't register as well. But again, it's tricky, isn't it, with colours? And I talk so much about, I seem to talk about even more than I used to, things like lighting and promo shots. They matter in your perception of a shirt. Sometimes you see a kit that's been released in the and you see the promo shots and you think, I'm not too sure about that, and then you actually see it on pitch or other pictures of it and you realize, actually that does look quite nice, or vice versa. A shirt which looks amazing on a promo video or something like that, and then you see it in the cold light of day, and you realise it wasn't as good as it looks like it might be. So this shirt, again, I think we're, in my mind, it's kind of around. Well, let's stick it in the gap here. Could have been much better. From Kappa there. Now we come to St. Pauli. Now this is really interesting because DIY, the in-house brand of St. Pauli, have basically not done much at all. There was the grey shirt. I can't think it was the third shirt, or was it a Pride shirt? I can't remember. Which had the iridescent applications. That one was largely well received, and at least had some kind of talking points. Their other shirts have been quite bad, I would say. It's good to see much more creativity here. I don't think it's quite reaching the heights it could do. one for the plain back, but I think also the pattern itself. So I think, did they get an artist involved? Yeah, a local street artist. So the thing is, this immediately tells more of that street artist vibe, that street artist story, than the city third. Same concept, but much more. Well, I think it's much better executed here from the club compared to the behemoth of Puma. So that's great to see. I think even though I prefer it a lot to the city shirt, I'm not sure about the choice of plain sleeves, and indeed the sponsor I think could easily have sat on the pattern, maybe with a few tweaks or a stroke around the sponsor. But it's got a very, I mean, without wanting to sound too disrespectful, it's got quite a cute vibe, you know, these kind of pinks, and it almost looks to me like kind of sweets, or I don't know, a tray of Rocky Road or something. It's kind of got a marshmallow. It's got that kind of that vibe, and you look at the pattern up close, it's actually kind of quite blurry. Yeah, so good. End of the day, I'm happy to see St. Pauli branching out a little bit more, flexing a bit more of their in-house creative muscle. I think we'll sneak this one into the Flames tier. I think honestly it does have the overall look, especially from distance. I think it's actually quite strong. It's perhaps a bit unrefined, and John Carl definitely goes along that route. So this is interesting, but way too busy for the pitch. Not a fan. I put it in the ice cubes here. Yeah, I even though I agree that it is busy, I actually do think the overall look is quite good, but yeah, as I say, in general, it's most of the St. Pauli shirts that have been designed in house haven't really been for me. This one does buck the trend though. This one definitely bucks the trend. I'd be happy to sneak it into the Flames tier alongside the likes of Bordeaux. Very different shirts to the Bordeaux shirt, but I'd rank it similarly. Let's take a very short break. I'll just grab a refill and then we'll come to Chelsea, guys. So I'll just leave us briefly I should say, with the pause screen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back. I've got to say as well at the start, actually, guys, I've got a small collection sale going on at the moment. And these are things I do, personal sales, kind of once every 2-3 months, sometimes even more regular. Go and check out my Twitter, and you can see there's a bunch of shirts, some quite rare shirts, others kind of more in a mid-range category, but there's a range of stuff. Most of the stuff that I posted yesterday is still available, so go and check that out if you want to add to your collection. And I'm always happy to negotiate on price, and if you see a shirt cheaper elsewhere, I'll match it and stuff like that. So yep, that is happening on Twitter. Go and check that out if that is of interest. Let's get back to the hot wall, and let's go to Chelsea's away shirt. Now, I must say, I think this one has something about it. The home shirt wasn't really to my taste. largely on the basis of the collar. I didn't like the style of it. But I think what's quite interesting about this is you've got, if not the same, I think it is the same pattern, I'm right in saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but yeah, that same pattern which is used as an element, as the key element of the body of the away. And I actually think it's quite smart. You can obviously see the line there is the inspiration. I think it's quite a fresh colour combo with the white base and that light blue. I think it's actually pretty good. The 3 sponsors very large. They've at least incorporated it. And like any Nike shirt this season, you've kind of got, on one hand, the template is kind of quite limiting, but it doesn't detract too much. And on the positive side, you've got Nike's drive for ADV is always so interesting. It's not bespoke on this shirt, but it's always, again, it elevates what would otherwise be a plain shirt, and that's kind of what you want to see from the top teams. So I think this is pretty good. The sponsor dot is way too big, but that's just 3, isn't it? Now I think this is actually pretty good. Is it enough to go in the flames too? I don't think it is. I think it's more of a kind of high candle for me, but I certainly like this over the home. I do think it's a great year for Chelsea shirts. But if I was a fan or I collected Chelsea shirts, I think you could do a lot worse than the away shirt. It's certainly my pick between this and the home. Personally, it's more to my style. I do think the colours are quite fresh. Again, with a better sponsor, even though they have recoloured it, I think this one could go up even more. What do you guys think though? This one, of course, was worn. Or was it worn? I think. I'm trying to remember if Chelsea have worn it. I said of course, but now I'm struggling to remember if they've worn it. We're only a couple of games into the season. I'm already forgetting who's worn what. But yeah, we'll stick it in the calendar. I'm just kind of scanning through. Yeah, sorry guys. I'll stick it next to Venezia there. That feels like a reasonable place. Yeah, let's come to Strasbourg. Where's Whale Day? Nice, John Carlos. The first thing I like when I see this pattern, it very much reminds you of some of the Adidas, the more zigzag Adidas patterns which the brand, have utilised in the past. But it's actually more wavy. Honestly, when I look at this, I look at that, how big that that back sponsor is. Wow. Honestly, I think it's another example where the colours just look a bit tired. This kind of dark, I can't tell if it's black or very dark navy, but that in combination with the dark blue, just quite a, I don't think it's a particularly strong colourway. This is the third kit. It's nice to see a little detail here, a jock tag detail, which is an area of the shirt which is often forgotten, and I'm glad to see that. Kind of a nice style there. I don't know exactly what that's referring to, but yeah, the overall effect of the shirt to me just a little bit safe, a little bit conservative. That's not to say you need wild colours, but I think the actual pattern, this kind of wave pattern, has some legs. Obviously the sponsors, again, quite a French thing, but there's not only the number but the size, particularly on the back sponsor there. Crest has been recoloured. Yeah, I think the overall, it's probably something just about in the canal tier, and I think I'm being fairly generous. I think that's largely on the basis of the jock tag detail, and the fact that they have actually, despite difficulty, attempted to incorporate the various sponsors. But yeah, we'll stick this one in the just about in the canal tier. I don't think I can put it much higher than that, and it's probably lucky to be in that tier at all. And now Hartlepool United's away shirt. This is a very surprising kind of half and half look. honestly, I don't like it. Now, it's a creative take. You've got both a checkerboard pattern, again with a kind of half and half aesthetic. The sponsor, I would assume, out of kind of necessity or kind of ease of incorporation, is placed on a black band in the middle, which feels like an unnecessary design element on an already quite busy front of the shirt, although they have at least aligned it with the squares. But it's confusing. Again, I assume that these are cut out to help with visibility around the crest. There's just too much, and it feels like 3 different shirts in one here. I should also mention this mesh side panel, which is very Adidas 2002. But just the whole thing, I think, is an Ice Cube tier from Morea. Points to creativity and originality, but being original doesn't mean you've got a good shirt. An original design isn't necessarily a good design. I think in this example, it's all over the place. So not a shirt that I'd rank highly, but it's it's definitely not. I'm guessing, and also hoping we don't see too many shirts in this design, if any. I assume Hartley Ball had a kit like this in the 90s. Honestly, I couldn't tell off the top of my head, but I assume this is a reference to an old kit. But we will stick it down here. I think it is actually quite clunky, quite ugly. Very Harlequin to John Cole. Yeah, it definitely has that with the checkerboard. We come to the Napoli third kit. Now, for a few shirts today, I've mentioned how the colours weren't really doing it for me. I think this falls into that category. Not really sure. I've been quite enjoying grey kits this year, and I almost feel like in this example, apologies guys. Oh mum. In this example, it's almost a bit too blue. I think if you almost took out some of the what little colour there is in the base and went for more of a grey, I think there could be more to this. It's nice seeing all over pattern that goes on the back, and in general I think you could say that at the very least, it got pretty bad for Napoli when it got bad last year. I think I'd take this over the kind of the British Gas shirt from last year and the Maradona efforts. Some of the others which just snuck onto the tier list because they were released in 2022. But it's still an Ice Cube tier, I think. Maybe higher into the Ice Cube tier. Again, the colourway as a base, it feels pretty. I don't know, pretty. I don't think it has that strength of colour which. Even something like the Werder Bremen shirt, which I'm not in love with, especially with the shorts, but it's immediately much more of a fresh, exciting colourway. And yes, this isn't falling into the tropes of black and gold or mint or even a map shirt, but it's also just kind of feels like they could have had a better pattern in their back pocket, honestly. And again, this is Armani. The crest placement is definitely worth a mention as well. That's something which all Napoli shirts have kind of unfortunately been laboured with. This kind of very high placement almost on the shoulders. Kappa, of course, are quite famous for that, so it doesn't help with the Kappa association as well. But for an example of this approach done better, I think we can come to New Balance. I've been singing New Balance's praises this year, and I think it's funny because this pattern is quite similar. I really think this is much better. I think the colourway is so much nicer. I think I'm right in saying as well, the story with this one was that they were trying to go for. So what have we got here? So they've gone for. They've said it's a marble effect. Honestly, this just looks 10 times better than the Napoli shirt. I really like this pattern. I think it looks really effective. I've been, not only have I been high on New Balance, but I've also been quite enjoying white shirts. But I think more than that, it's the off-white shirts which are really catching my attention. And I gotta tell you guys, I actually think, personally, I think this is volcano tier territory. I really do. Now, why wouldn't I put this in the volcano tier? I think the cuff, and this is something New Balance do. It's not my favourite style. If we look here, we can see. I'm just scanning through. We've obviously, so we've got the Bilbao way, which I did like. That's a New Balance shirt. I think it's not the only one, and there's quite a few. The Lille shirts. There's quite a few in the Flames tier, but I think this is particularly good. I think the marble, like, it makes sense given Roma and Rome, obviously. Even though I feel like, the crest, the monochrome crest, it won't be for everyone, but I actually kind of like on this shirt. I think, well, I might hold it just back from the volcano tier. I really like, I think that, to me, this really exemplifies what I think is, for me, is one of the better trends of these kind of off-white shirts. But they're not just white, but they're subtle. Maybe it's a little bit of beige, a bit of cream, or kind of more like a bone shade. This is kind of going down the marble vibe, but I think this is really good. I think I'll hold it back from the very top tier, but not by much. I think this probably sits on that line alongside, and again, there's lots of New Balance in this area. I think. Oh, no, we don't want to see that again. I think that the general picture. We're gonna have to save it. That's fine. The general picture is really good for New Balance this year, and I think the Roma away shirt is particularly good. I would say of all the teams as well, Roma, with the home shirt also being quite strong, even though I didn't love the collar style, the button. Now, a lot of people are waiting the third shirt, particularly the leaks of that seem to showcase a crest which changes shape or changes colour. We'll wait to see that when it comes out. But I really like this. Honestly, I think this is, on another day, I may have snuck this into the volcano tier. And it's funny, I'm glad John Carl's commented. Our good friend John Carl, who has it's fair to say, and I wouldn't have predicted this at the start of the year, but I've been very high on white shirts in general. And John Carl, our good friend of the channel, who is he is the opposite, shall we say, in general. Not a white shirt fan, if I can put it like that. But he says, I really can't understand your fascination with white undershirts. Yeah, if you don't like white shirts, this is not a good year for you. Or good tier list for you, I should say. I think this is really good. I'm just so high on New Balance, guys. They really are ticking a lot of boxes for me at the moment. Staying in this league, we have Torino's third kit. A very interesting colour combo with the fluorescent details. And look at those socks. Wow. Not for the faint-hearted. I honestly think this has something about it. It's unusual. It's a very unusual combo, seeing that maroon, the kind of black and maroon mixed in, but kind of gradients with the fluorescent details. And I think because all the details, from the crest to the Joma logo to the various sponsors and their many sponsors, because all of them are fluorescent, I think that adds a lot. I think if just the crest was fluorescent, maybe just the crest and Joma were fluorescent, this wouldn't have as strong of an overall look. Honestly, I think because it's all fluorescent, the socks are probably a bit much, but in general, I think this actually kind of works as a third shirt. Now, the plain back, not a strong feature of the kit. And if you look at the pattern a bit more closely, honestly, I feel like it could be much more interesting. It feels a bit... I don't think it necessarily adds a lot. Kind of leaves the shirt, in my mind, looking a bit dirty. But overall, I think I'm going to actually rank this just in the Flames tier. Yeah, I like what you're saying here, Ian. He says Torino looks like a pimped up version of their home shirt. It does. And, these kind of third shirts, they're not necessarily the most functional. As in, those shirts which used to be about kit clashes, they're no longer about that, of course. But in that example, it does feel like a home shirt that's been pimped up. A bit blacker than the home, and obviously the fluorescent details just then run away with it. But yeah, I think I'm going to say it's just about in the Flames tier. It's a very, again, I think it's the key here for me is the commitment. If they've just got a few elements in the fluorescent, I don't think you sell the concept as well, and I think you miss out on a big part of what makes this shirt actually quite interesting. But with it, I think actually, I'm going to stick up here. I actually think, to be honest, the more I look at it, the more I like it. And again, the collar cuffs, they're simple, but they don't get in the way of the kit. I'd completely agree as well, John Carson. I like it better if the colour went on the back. Yep, absolutely with you there. Now we come to our good friends Castor. It's fair to say I've been very down on them in general. With Genoa, there's probably more that I like about this than other kits. Although I must say they've definitely used a Nike mock-up template there. That just looks silly because that's not even the right kit, is it? I might be wrong, but and again the picture's not loading. That's just, why have they used a Nike 2018 mock-up? That's just annoying, but a lot of brands do that. But anyway, well, we'll use that anyway for the wall. But yeah, so we come to the Castor home shirt. In general, for various reasons, Castor just haven't been really working for me. This as a base, being half and half, as you'd expect from a Genoa kit, you're looking at things like the choice of shade of colour, as well as the placement of details. This detail is fine, a bit too simple for my liking, but it's nice to see that area of the shirt not neglected. Although the better never stops slogan, which again, this is a terrible mock-up. It almost looks like it's not coming from the club or Castor. But anyway, but there's very little about this kit. The sponsor as well is very large, and you've got MSC, who have also been a secondary sponsor of Napoli for many years. I mean, this is probably even in the Cannell tier, in the Ice Cube tier, because it is, if it wasn't for the fact that this at least has that half and half, and that is a good element. But of course, that's just the club bringing that to the table. I don't think Castor are bringing anything here, which I think is of note. And on top of that, I shouldn't, but just the fact you've got this Nike mock-up base is annoying me, and for that reason, I have to stick in the bottom tier. But no, even if it wasn't for that, guys, I think I'd still not particularly rate it. Sorry to say that. Again, Castor, because I don't want to sound like a broken record. I do think, if we come to the away, I want to say actually had a bit more about it. But we'll stick this down here. Yeah. A brand which I've just not been impressed with. And this it's just one of the many examples why. Now we come to VFL Osnabrück. This kind of collar style, almost like some of the New Balance designs, very large and very chunky. This one, I actually quite like the chunky collar and cuffs, especially because with the white base and the purple. As a combo, it's nice to see a bit more of that purple coming through. Very distinctive crest, which I quite like. And I really like the shadow stripes. The sponsors, both the main sponsor and the C sponsor, are negatives, both from a size and a colour perspective. But I am still going to stick with, it's probably in the higher end of the Cannell tier, because I quite like the direction. I just think like a few shirts, many shirts in the modern game, the sponsor really does hold it back. But this one is a smidgen away from the Flames tier in my eyes. I think it does have that kind of chunky collar and the cuffs and the shadow stripes. I think are maybe the best thing about the kit. And again, I want to, I've said it before, but in terms of having elements, whether it's as a jacquard or otherwise in the body of a shirt, makes all the difference in my eyes. It can take, well, what would otherwise be a plain shirt and make it quite attractive. We'll stick this one up here. I think it's actually pretty good. Yep, as far as shirts go. Brazil. I've been looking forward to talk about this one because, of course, as many people pointed out, you've got the Brazilian flag nodded to in the one button collar, and it's really funny. I tweeted about this. I bang on all the time about one button collar, and I'm always down on it. And then I saw this, and I almost in itself, well, I tweeted and joked. Sorry, guys. Oh yeah, having my usual midstream yawns. Apologies. It's happens without fail. Anyway, this again, I joked about it and said almost single-handedly means I have to dissolve my anti-one button agenda. Such a nice detail. It's such a simple idea. The execution is wonderful. I think I was told that was a render, it's not the actual kit, but we'll wait to see what that looks like in person. Overall look at the shirt, honestly, I'm struggling not to critique the one button because look at that, like you see it here, and it's not a good way to have your shirt. Honestly, I don't think it's one of my favourite Brazil shirts in terms of like the overall look. And again, it's hard to kind of judge, but the colour, I'm unsure. It looks a bit washed out there for me. You see it on the renders, and that looks like a much kind of punchier, more saturated shade, which I quite like. In the retail pictures, looks a little bit too pale for me, or at least I'd rather have, even on the crest, it looks like it's closer to what the kind of shade I like more. But yeah, Ian says the Brazil flag button is very cool. It is very cool. Now, does that make it a hot shirt? I don't think it does, honestly. And like that detail, that's a volcano tier detail on a candle. This is a volcano tier detail on a candle tier shirt. And I think that's kind of my summary, my one sentence summary. I'm going to put it in the candle tier, but that detail is one of the best details we've seen. Well, not just this year, but in the I mean, maybe getting a bit carried away, but I was going to say in the modern game. But I really do think it's one of those details which those details. You don't have to speak to anyone about it. They can just see it and enjoy it and go, oh yeah, I see what they did there. And I like that when it's not kind of trying to be too clever. It is clever, but it there's no pattern on it. It's just the button on that little triangle. It'd be easy just to not do that as well, but that inclusion is very, very good. Is it a hot shot though? I don't think it is, and that's why I'm going to stick it down in the candle tier and in the middle of the candle tier. But I do like that button. The away doesn't have that detail. Although I actually kind of much prefer this collar style in the modern Nike template. I actually wish we didn't have the gradient here. You won't be surprised to hear that. Although it wouldn't. It wouldn't necessarily look better without the gradient. What I think is particularly interesting is the choice of green as the swoosh colour, which matches the pattern. And it looks like, at least according to the renders, we're going to have yellow numbers. So I think there's sometimes something about that when you have mismatched number colours with brand mark colours and things like that. I often quite like that. I often quite like that combination. Depending on the colourway, but I think in this example it looks pretty good. I probably wouldn't run with the gradient on the sleeves to personal taste, but I must say I quite like that colour. Quite a deep blue, but it's vibrant enough that I think it fits pretty well with the home shirt. and I assume that pattern, the subliminal pattern on the home, which I can kind of take or leave, I assume that's the same on the away. So long and short, I would actually take this over the home, even though it doesn't have that wonderful detail. I'd probably still keep it in the calendar. I don't think it's as good as a lot of the shirts you've seen this year, but no, looking forward to seeing this one on pitch. And again, I think had we seen a bit more of that sleeve pattern, and maybe even just a bit more of that green in other areas of the kit. Also, this one obviously, like any Nike shirt, would really benefit from seeing the Dry for ADV material and pattern in the actual body of the shirt. The replica, as you see it here, sorry guys, could end up looking it looks very flat and quite underwhelming. But that is not exclusive to this shirt. Nonetheless, I think this is in the higher end of the calendar. So let's just check where we are here. If the home was, where did we put the home? Just here. Yeah, I'd definitely take this away above that. Let's stick it here. There's a good gap there. Feels like a good spot. Yeah. Ian says the cleverest ideas are often the most simple in hindsight, but genius to envisage. Exactly, mate. Exactly. Now the Monaco third kit. Is a combination which combines the classic element of the Monaco kit, that being the diagonal panel, with an unusual lilac colour. I say, yeah, it looks kind of lilac to me. I kind of like the look of the pattern, honestly. With what it looks like, if we zoom in here, it's kind of made up of cubes, but it honestly has quite a nice look to it. Even though this colour, I don't love that shade of purple, that lilac shade. It's not really to my taste, but I do actually think this shirt is quite good. So the colour doesn't really float my boat, but I think the pattern's pretty good, and this feels like, honestly, as a Monaco third kit, yeah, I think this does the business. Gradient, kind of a save for me, but that's just a personal thing. I don't think I can put it above the calendar, just because, again, I think the colour for me, honestly, isn't really to my taste. I think it'd be hard to make a football shirt work in this colour. John Carl, however, says, I like this colour. I feel like we're often not on the same page, John Carl. I do respect your takes, though, nonetheless. Even if they're wrong. I'm kidding. But some mixed opinions in chat. Hortivoid says, not feeling this Monaco kit, or Anderson, don't know why they couldn't replicate the pass on the back here. Yeah, indeed. You know, I think that's a classic problem, but it's definitely an opinion I'd share. And Hortivoid also saying the sponsor placement kills it, and you know how I feel about the Kappa badge placements. Indeed, mate, indeed. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to stick it high up on this tier here, on the calendar here, but not quite pushing in. I do think, again, there's quite a lot to like. It's not got a really silly collar or anything like that. It's a small thing, but I appreciate actually how the pattern goes right up to the top of the neck. I think that honestly is a good decision. But yeah, the colour is the main thing I have. And talking of colour, we've got the Reading away kit. This is another one which perhaps even worse. I mean, this one very much continues the story of the home, which had the crazy sleeves, and I assume this pattern is also based on that, on the temperatures graph, the data of temperature in the region and how that's changed over time. Yeah, this kind of almost like a prawn combo, isn't it? With the lighter pink, the kind of salmon pink in various shades. It's hard to really love this shirt. Obviously, sorry guys. Obviously, with the combination of colours is a little bit unusual. but then it does continue the story of those sleeves. But we have to look at it objectively, you know, as much as possible. Context is important, but you know, I mean, we rank the home all the way down here. I wouldn't rank it that low. I actually think it's much higher within that tier, but I don't think I could even put it in the counter tier. You know, again, the story is admirable. I don't think that the end result is actually that strong in terms of a shirt, though. Much prefer it to the home, and I think the pattern, again, it's much less jarring than the home, and that was kind of the point of the pattern. But yeah, I don't think this is, even though I much prefer it to the home, I don't think it's particularly good. If I was to be harsh, if I was to be brutal and just look at this and rank it as I see fit. So we'll stick it here. There's a nice gap there. Yeah, it feels at home around this kind of region. Ian says, I have a friend who supports running. He just bought this one and it looks pretty good. That's good to hear, Ian. And honestly, it's the kind of kit where I could see that. I could definitely see that, even though I'm not that high on it. Because it is sometimes especially with an unusual colourway, you really do have to kind of see it in person to appreciate it. Talking Kit, the guys at Talking Kit, another great channel you should go and follow, guys, if you don't already. Hope you're well too, guys. Hope you're well too. And Gareth saying, if chess chevrons are old school rugby, this running shirt is definitely modern rugby. Yeah, it does have that vibe for sure. Yeah, so really interesting away shirt. Wow. I don't think I've seen this Levante shirt before. This is the Levante third kit. Just trying to read. I haven't seen this before. I'm trying to read up on what this. Okay, so this is funny. It's a frog pattern. I don't know what the association is with. Where they have a frog mascot. Levante, who have famously have a bat on their crest, a la Valencia. They have a frog mascot? That's so random. Really, I mean, it's a fun kit, that's for sure. Is it a good kit? I don't think it is, but there's a huge novelty factor here, that's for sure. Now, I'd hope the pattern goes on the back. We'll have to wait and see. I won't be able to check at this point, but sometimes a shirt, even if it's not necessarily very good, it has a novelty factor. And if sea turtle, says John Cole, yeah, it kind of has that vibe as well. Yeah, if they've got a frog mascot, hey, this is going to be fun, and I'm sure the mascot will enjoy wearing this. It seems really random, but I'm glad, like, it's a small thing, but I'm glad the pattern is all over the sleeves as well as the body. And I must say, I kind of like that collar. Again, seeing that pattern go seamlessly into that front of the collar. Sorry, I don't know what is wrong with me, but I'm quite sleepy this afternoon. What are we, Thursday afternoon? Yeah, it has been a tiring week. I apologise for my lack of professionalism on these streams when I end up yawning my head off for half of them. I promise it's not your company, as I always say, but it's nothing to do with that. I think it's just because I'm talking out loud for anything close to an hour or more, and I start getting a bit sleepy. But anyway, so a real novelty factor to this one. I think that basis alone, like I'm gonna rank it in the counter. And I think Matt kind of have done it's not obvious exactly what it is, and again I'm still a bit confused that they have a frog as a mascot, but fair play. Why not have the frog on the crest? That would be pretty weird, and it would break tradition, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Haunted Voyager, summing up my thoughts, saying I may pick up just for novelty. that's it. There's something about shirts based on animals which is quite fun. And we tend to see things like zebras and tigers and stuff like that. But frogs, not a genre which has been saturated. I don't think it's... I can't think... There will be another one, I'm sure, but I can't think of a frog-based shirt. But this is... let's not get carried away. We'll bump it. We'll bump it here just below Torquay and Chelsea here. So real novelty factor. I must admit, here, my knowledge of whiskey logos is quite low, so I couldn't tell you. I couldn't say respond to your comment there about Lafargue whiskey. I'm butchering that name. But anyway, Andy says, can't stop looking at it. It is pretty mesmerising. West Bromwich Albion. Unnecessarily plain back, but I mean, that is just what it is. Triangle pattern, it's fine. Unspectacular. I do like the alternate crest, which they've used quite a lot actually recently on away kits and third kits. Andy says if the Levante shirt had a Nigeria crest, people would get crazy for it. They probably would. Honestly, like this one in the red. I think the pattern, if it went on the back and maybe even on the sleeves, I think we could be looking at quite a strong camel tier shirt. But without that, it's hard to think of anything. I think it has to go in the Ice Cube tier. Probably the higher end of the Ice Cube tier, but it suffers. I mean, things like plain backs in and of themselves don't mean it goes in the Ice Cube tier. But when you've also not really got... probably the only saving grace is the fact I don't think I've seen this pattern in use elsewhere. To be honest, I think I might sneak it into the counter tier. Again, I'm glad that even though it's a very simple pattern, it is bespoke, I think, anyway. It would be consistent with Puma, who actually have done sneakily good things in England. Outside the Premier League, they've actually done quite a few good designs. There's actually a number in the Flames tier this year. This doesn't challenge that by any means, but we'll stick it down here, just in the sneaking in to the counter tier. I think the oval pattern aesthetic is quite nice, but it should be on the back, could be on the sleeves, and there could be a lot more to the kit. I do think the crest is a strength, and actually John Carr as well saying I like the West Brom went with the monogram logo. I agree with that. Daz, good to see Daz. He says, have you any World Cup shirts yet? Or Liverpool's third kit? Has Liverpool third kit even been released yet? I think it's still technically not been released, right? I might be wrong. World Cup kits, have I got any? No, I don't think I have. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. No, I don't even know. I won't necessarily pick up any. I'll wait and see. I'm sure there'll be at least one which I'll have my eye on. But yeah, are there any you're eyeing up, Daz, or anyone else? Any shirts you're looking forward to seeing, whether they've been released now or whether they will be released? We come to Nonce now. I really like the look of this pattern in the body of the shirt. I really like the look of that. Now, it might even be embossed, and if it is, you guys know I love a good embossed pattern. This is looking very good. It's not for everyone, the rebrand, but I kind of like the application of it with the raised plastic in the kind of cutout style. But it's all about that. Like, I think, and again, this isn't Macron have done before, so I have faith that they've actually done an embossed pattern. And the funny thing is that almost by itself lifts the shirt. This is exactly what I've been talking about, and this I think exemplifies. Without this embossed pattern, this shirt is a very it's below par, I would say. Or maybe that's a bit harsh. I think it's actually quite nice even without the pattern, but with the pattern, I actually think this is Flames tier. Now the sponsor, which Nonce have had before, is unfortunately quite a dominant feature. Being in red, it clashes quite a lot with the rest of the kit. But like just seeing that picture, I really like that repeat pattern, and it again, I might be wrong, but it looks like it's embossed. I think this is actually kind of mid flame stick. I think this is really good. Now the sponsor is a letdown, but I quite like the colour and cuffs. That star is nice to me. It's a very easy, simple style, but that's very much to my taste. I really like that pattern. This is it, guys. This is an example of how to make a plain shirt work, and I want to see more of this. It's great to see Macron. Macron aren't one of the big manufacturers, but they're very much in that chasing pack. Certainly, easily in the top 10. Some would maybe argue kind of top 5 or 6. They're probably just outside that for me, but they're not far outside that. And if they continue to produce shirts like this, I think they should be in the conversation for top 5 manufacturers. No, I mean, I think they probably are top 5 to me, so I'm being a bit harsh. They are excellent. This is a really good shirt, and I'm happy to put this, above another shirt with embossed details, the Lazio shirt. So, a surprisingly good shirt, which, you could easily see this even just as you're browsing through and think, it's just a plain shirt. But really like that depth to the shirt. And Annie says, great looking nonce shirt. Not going to be showing the quality right now. They are indeed. And some comments on West Brom as well. Gareth saying it's great by West Brom to promote the cursive WBA. It is. Yeah. And Gareth as well saying, nonce, another example of deep cuffs and short sleeves. Yeah, I think this is an example where that really works. Let's keep going, guys. We will come to the away kit. Now, looking at this, I don't think I like this as much as the home. Even though the sponsor is much more agreeable in terms of colour. And we've got the pattern on the back, which is good. But I really think the home is just so much better. I think when you compare the home, which had that really nice... embossed pattern. This pattern, by contrast, much more generic. It has the kind of brushstroke vibe, but there's nothing really about this that I like. What I will say is I appreciate the simple 2-colour look. I think there's a strength to a shirt which is just 2 colours. I mean, you could argue it's more than 2 because of the pattern, but essentially it's the reverse of the home, with the green being the primary and the yellow now. That nice canary yellow shade as the detail or the accent colour. It's not as good as the home though. I think the home is much better. This one is probably kind of middle candles here. I much prefer the home, but I mean, again, there are things that are better here. Things like the sponsor are better than the home, and I like the combo as a whole. So pretty strong here. And I will stick it in the middle of the calendar tier. This is probably the most congested area. I think it is the most congested area of our tier list. What I would say is the kind of average, and I've said this before in previous weeks, the kind of average line is probably somewhere below this candle. Somewhere like here is what I would say what I'd consider an average shirt. Although I guess that's probably not where the average, the kind of median or the midpoint is, which maybe tells you that I'm generally a positive person. I'd say there's more shirts I like than I don't like. But anyway, let's stick this in the gap here. Almost dead in the middle. But the home, I think, is my pick of the two. Andy, thanks so much for stopping by, mate. Really appreciate it. Great to have your comments and just hang out a bit, mate. See you soon. We're making good progress, guys. We are now on page 3 of Football Kit Culture. I mean, looking through here, there's no reason we can't actually finish. I was planning to go for another hour. I might go for maybe half an hour, but we'll see how we go. I think let's just carry through. We're gonna have some really good shirts. I mean, we can see Inter's, and I'm really high on Inter's kit, which is coming up. But we'll come to Brentford before we get to Inter. The Brentford third shirt. New surname Mikael Damsgaard there. Unsure on the colour combo here. The black base with the pink and the yellow. It reminds you of something, and I can't put my finger on what it reminds me of. But as on the positive sense, it's good to see not just another black and gold kit. That would have been a very easy direction to go down, and I feel like they could have sold it with the bee, and I feel like that could have been a honey theme. I feel like that could have easily been a story they could have told just to say we wanted to make a black and gold kit. But anyway, moving on from that, I do think again it's a creative colour combo. I think I'd want to see the pattern on the sleeves. I'd probably prefer this shirt if this pattern was a bit crazier and on the sleeves and you actually had a relatively plain base. I think I'd rather that dynamic rather than the pattern in the middle and then the plain sleeves. And I think you could almost, for a model of what that could look like, you could look to something like, I've said it many times before, 90s Dortmund. Maybe go down that kind of direction, and I think you could have had something quite cool. This overall effect though is still, despite my my ideas or reservations behind it, I think I'd still put it in the counter tier, and somewhere in the middle, lower to middle of the counter tier. I think there is actually more about this than again just another black and gold shirt. And the aesthetic of the pattern, it's a bit retro with the kind of blocks. Honestly, I actually think, I think this one, somewhere in the counter tier, and like many counter tier shirts, these are the shirts which I've described before as having a flicker of potential that maybe hasn't been realised. I think that describes this Brentford shirt pretty well. We'll stick it here. I'll be, that's actually higher than that's more in the middle. No, we'll stick it there. Honestly, I do think there is more to this than a lot of other similar shirts in this category. The pattern hires the sponsor, says John Carl. That is true. That is true, mate. I'm going to take a short break, but before I do, let's come to Inter shirt. Now, I must say, this one, at the risk of being hypocritical, I spent weeks, months even, lamenting the excessive amount, I should say, of map-based shirts and mint shirts. To a lesser extent, they're kind of being phased out, but for many years, the mint craze was as popular as black and gold is now, or has been for the last couple of years. But I'm kind of eating my words here. This shirt has made me eat my words, because not only is it bringing back that mint colour, which is Inter Milan themselves had, of course, a few years ago, but also you've got a map very much on the back. But for me, this really does add a lot, because I absolutely love the way that you've got a kind of old school globe aesthetic because of things like the dry fit ADV pattern, which has, you think of like an old globe, and you've got those latitude and longitude lines. Is it parallels and meridians? I think they're called. There is a name for them. But I actually think that adds so much. And of course, again, this isn't, Nike often utilize their dry fit ADV patterns, sometimes with bespoke ventilation patterns. But I think in this example, it just works really well. And, you flip it on the back, the pattern all the way on the back. Obviously, the map is quite kind of jumbled in that sense. But I really like the overall look. I think, again, it's an unusual kind of almost like a collage. It's not to scale or anything like that, but there's the whole story of Inter as a club, their name even Internazionale, which is kind of dates back to the history of the club, where they were really made a point of welcoming in people from all nations. And that's kind of a story of their, since their rebrand, certainly they've majored on that. Really nice decision to put the crest over Milan. Small thing, but it makes sense. So I'm really high on this shirt. I think it's those small details, and I think the thing that tipped it over the edge for me was seeing all the lines that are crossing over. It gives me that kind of old school Globe look. I think that really is effective at helping sell the story of the kit. Color wise, even though I've lamented again so many mint shirts over recent years, I don't mind Inter doing that again. They kind of made it a bit of their thing really when their previous mint away shirt was very popular. Is it quite soon to be doing another mint kit? Perhaps, but I think this actually kind of looks quite nice with the white base. So again, I'm eating my words here, but this is as soon as I saw this, I knew this was going to be in the Volcano tier. Which, you know, I'm the key category in the Volcano tier is I want to own this shirt for my collection, and I do want to own this shirt for my collection. I want to see this in person. I want to enjoy those little details, those dry fit ADV details, I should say. It looked good on pitch as well when they wore it the other day. John Carl says, I need to see this one without the background. It hides the true look. Yeah, the background definitely kind of confuses, or at least does detract somewhat. But I think you can still... personally, I think this is still exactly... this is, I think, one of the better Nike shirts you've seen. And you know what's funny? I really liked the home shirt as well. So I have got a fondness for Inter. I can't pretend I'm not biased. But this is the second Inter shirt, which I think is in the Volcano tier. And are they the only team like that? Sampdoria have also had 2 shirts. But this is excellent. I'm really happy to put this one in the Volcano tier. It's creative, and the idea is executed really nicely. And just a final word on Inter. I think, again, if they'd just done an all-over map that was maybe, you know, just to scale, and they'd just stuck it on the front, I don't think it would have been. And this effect, you could argue it's a bit jumbled, but I think the aesthetic ends up being quite strong. And I just love zooming in here, and again seeing those lines and how they interact with the dry fit ADV lines. Even, you know, you could say even the lines on the crest. I think the overall look is really strong. Yeah. So this is very much on my wish list. When this hits the stores, I will be trying to get this. And it's the kind of thing where, obviously, you know, I'd usually counsel for waiting to the end of season sales for new kits, but I would expect this one to be popular. Not to drive hype too much, but, you know, I think it's one of those where I wouldn't be overly surprised if this doesn't hit the sales, at least in its authentic or dry fit ADV form. I might be wrong on that, and I'd hope I'm wrong on that, because, you know, you do pay a lot now for a new dry fit ADV. But yeah, that's the Inter away shirt, one of my favourites this year. Yeah, and an easy inclusion for me anyway in the Volcano tier. Guys, I'm going to take a short break, and then we'll head to the home straight as we will review a few more shirts as we close out the stream. But thank you for stopping by so far. If you haven't already, it's not too late to like the video. And if you are one of the people watching and you've not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Make sure you subscribe. But we'll just pause for a few minutes. I'll be back very soon. Yeah, see you on the other side. Hello everybody, welcome back. As we close out today's stream, that's still out there. We've made some good progress, and I think almost certainly we'll be back on eBay, and I'm happy that we've kind of, as I say, we'll do a bit more today, and then I think we'll be sufficiently caught up that we could head to eBay, which will be good to have a stream on Tuesday evening, all being well. We'll head back to eBay. But let's continue. Let's see how many we can do in the last half hour or so. Starting, or resuming, I should say, with Spurs and the Spurs third kit. Now, this pattern really reminded me of another kit, and I couldn't think which one it was. I don't know if it's another Nike shirt, or a piece of training wear, or something I've seen. I honestly, and it's kind of bugging me what it reminds me of, and I can't think what it is. The overall kit, like, it's good to see the pass on the back, which you don't always see. And I think again, I think I've said it for a few third shirts today. You want your third shirts to be a little bit crazy sometimes, or at least to do something different. This certainly does something different, and I think you could definitely argue that it's much stronger than the away, which you put down in the ice cube tier. Is it good enough to go in the counter tier? I think it is. I do actually quite like the colours here. On some shots it looks a bit dull, but even as I'm looking at it on my phone, for example, as opposed to desktop, I do think that there's a freshness to it. And I think with the pass on the back, I'm happy to put this kind of low to mid in the counter tier. I think again, it's just, but the thing holding it back, the main reason I wouldn't put it in the flames tier, I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I've seen this kind of pattern before, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm glad that the pattern goes on the back, and it's even on the shoulders, and it's quite seamless in that sense, which is good. And I assume this might be a random pattern as well, which I know has been a thing with a lot of Nike shirts of this style. So we'll stick it here in the counter tier. We continue with Everton's third kit. Now, the big story with Everton's kit here, of course, was the alternate crest. Now, I must say, seeing it on the kit, and Everton wore this as well recently, it's hard to argue that like a lot of people said it's too plain. Why not have a version of the tower or something, of the crest, or more details? I can see the argument, and I saw some mock-ups which had that, and it looked quite strong. Now, I think the overall idea is quite good. It gives the third kit a bit of an identity, and of course with the pattern as well, which helps tell the story of this brand mark, which has become, which Everton have really pushed. They actually had it in their numbers even last year. The Prince Rupert's Tower, which of course has always been in their crest, but they've kind of taken this much more modern, simplified, flat look. It's a bold move to stick it on the kit. I do actually think, again, it gives it an identity, and I really like yellow as a colour for Everton. The sponsor is regrettable. It's large. It's a gambling sponsor, of course, as well. And the fact that's in white where the other elements aren't just makes it stand out even more. Shame to see the plain back. I think in general this is probably lower candle, but with things like a better sponsor, and I think again, for me, the crest is maybe a bit too flat and a bit too simple. Why not have some more texture? Again, this is the thing which a lot of brands do really well, where they add a lot of depth to their crests, to the applications. I mentioned it on my What I'm Buying video, the last one that was on the channel, about the Belgrano shirt, which incidentally I really do think I need to bump up actually a bit more, but we'll do that another time. Or maybe, hang on, I think I remember I had a problem here where, I need to sort the sheet out. Anyway, long and short, I think this is a missed opportunity. What is quite a good idea, and that is kind of the story of many of these older shirts in the Canal tier. Well, I do think they're onto something, even if the overall impact isn't exactly what I'd want it to be. And I like Hummel. I have a lot of time, of course. Despite my bias, I do have a lot of time for the designs, but they don't always get it right. I think this one probably just about misses the mark, but it's a very interesting look. I'd love to know what you guys think of this crest. Again, I think I kind of liked it, and then I saw it up close and thought, yeah, it does look a bit odd. And people make good points saying, if you see that, would you know it was Everton? I don't think you would, or at least it's kind of too early in that. Since they've been using that mark to really buy into that. Sorry. But hashtag United, another Hummel side, and I think this is points immediately for originality. I can't say I love the pattern, but it is, it's great to see again the treatment that hashtag are getting from Hummel. I think is excellent. Again, bespoke designs, they're getting really a lot of attention, which is great to see. Excuse me. And I really enjoy meeting the team from hashtag for Behind the Chevrons. It was great to chat to them, and you can go check that episode out, and there's some really good stuff there that came out of that episode, and I came away quite impressed really with the project as a whole, and I think the kits are really good. I actually particularly like this away shirt. I think that black or the pink and black I should say is really nice, and I like that quite a soft shade of pink, it must be said. It's not it's not a very kind of bright pink, but I really like it. I actually think it's probably my pick between the two. I think particularly the contrast collar and cuffs work really well, whereas in the home, which I still like, and I think I'd probably still put it kind of middle of the Canal tier, maybe even high Canal tier. I think that'll be fair. But yeah, I think the away is even stronger. Just catching up with chat, I realised that I had it wasn't updating, so I missed some of your comments. Apologies. But on the Spurs shirt, John Carl said similar to the Frog shirt. Which of us said Chelsea's home kit last year? Yeah, maybe it is that. Honestly, I'd have to compare them. And yeah, John Carl, and again we're talking about Spurs here, but John Carl's saying about the sponsor AIA. No problem changing on the away and third kits, but they don't change on the home, and it is just because of visibility. It's quite clear. At first I wasn't sure, but clearly they want maximum visibility on the home shirts at the detriment, sadly, of any home shirt they're on. It means they end up being the talking point, but it's hard to argue that the kit aesthetics are anything but harmed. And John Custon, the Everton needs blue cuffs. I agree, that would add a lot to the kit. So this I think is much better than the Everton kit. The pattern, it doesn't really kind of excite me too much, but we'll stick it here in a very respectable position there. In fact, they're just above, next to Southampton, another humble kit. But the away I like even more. I'd even be prepared to put the away in the Flames tier, in the hot tier. I really like that shade of pink, a bit softer than something like the Palermo shirt, which we saw earlier today. And again, I think having that, the nice sharp black collar and the cuffs, I think really tops off the shirt, which, again, was already, even the home, which I put down in the counter tier, but that's not. I think that's still an above average shirt. This I think is really good. I think pink as a colour, it could easily start to feel overdone. I think over time we'll have to wait and see. But for now, I don't feel like I've seen it too much, and I'm happy to put this along here. So a couple of good pink shirts today. Gareth saying Everton's crest is too flat and plain, but I think it's been steadily simplified for the last few years, so it's a natural conclusion. So Gareth, with that crest on the third kit, it's actually not a replacement of the crest. It's more of a like an additional brand mark, brand image, which is used. So predominantly, I think it started out and it was used on a few, on marketing materials and things like the numbers which I mentioned. But it's not replacing the crest. I think that's a key element which, I think if that was replacing the crest, it would feel very kind of underbaked as a main crest. Now that's quite an odd thing. I think you could argue, why would you do that? But that's probably a discussion for another day. But yeah, it definitely is the conclusion, or it's definitely the way that the game has gone in terms of crest styles and simplification and kind of the post Juve world, if you like. Now the this shirt, of course, it's impossible not to think about that result at Brentford. I'll try my best. This is the Manchester United third shirt. The funny thing is, I actually I think there's quite a lot I like about it. Now it is garish. Also, the page isn't loading. I hope I haven't lost connection. If there's any problems, please say. I don't want to repeat a Tuesday. I think we're okay. I think it's just the site being slow. The funny thing is, I actually think I quite like this shirt. Now, I don't think it's one of the best shirts of the year. But one thing which United, they've had now across their home way and now third, 3 different but notable patterns in the collar. I think there's something quite fun about that, and it's quite unusual to have bespoke patterns like that on an area of the shirt like a collar. I can't think of any really that have done that, where you've had 3 different patterns across collar patterns, I should say, across home way third. And I actually really like this pattern in the body, and this is it's a very 90s feel, kind of unmistakably 90s feel, but this to me registers so much more than some of the other patterns we've seen. What was the kit we saw earlier today? I can't even think off the top of my head now. It was going back. It was one we saw near the start of the day. Was it the Forest one? I think it was the Forest one I'm thinking of. And maybe to a lesser extent the Benfica kit. In those examples, I think the patterns weren't quite hitting the mark, but I actually quite like this one. Thanks, John Carl. Appreciate that, mate. And again, yes, it's garish, and obviously the result has kind of tainted it, but I actually really think as a third kit, this is the place to do it. Now, I think in a different colour, this could be, dare I say, even approaching volcano tier. This is probably a bit too in your face, and I think I'm going to put it in the flames tier rather than the volcano tier or anything like that. But I really think this is good. I actually think, and this is coming from a Liverpool fan. Now I know many Liverpool fans wouldn't even, they barely even say the word Manchester United, let alone rank a shirt as hot. But hey, that's how I do things. I have no qualms about rating a rival shirt. Would I buy it? Probably not, or I don't think I'd keep it anyway. But there's been Everton shirts in the past which I've said have been much better than the Liverpool shirts of that season, and I actually think this is going to sound crazy, but I would take this Manchester United shirt over any of the Liverpool shirts, even more than, well, okay, maybe not more than the away. I think you know what? No, I would say genuinely, I rate this one as much as the Liverpool one for different reasons, and this is a ridiculous colour. Don't get me wrong, but I probably don't like it as much as the City shirt there. But I'm going to stick it here, and again, this will be shocking to some people perhaps, but I rate this Manchester United shirt. Obviously after the Brentford, it's funny because after the Brentford result, I can't imagine anyone will be keen to wear it again. It certainly will impact sales as well, at least for the immediate future. But there we go, guys. I actually think the set of Manchester United kits this year isn't bad at all. I'm trying to think where we ranked the home and away. I think, am I right in saying they were both in the candle tier? I'm just going to scroll through. Yeah, it'll probably be easy to find the home. Again, this is the problem now that the tier list is so busy. I can see Arsenal and Liverpool there. But where are United? Did I rank it in the Flames tier even? Again, it's such a busy. Maybe it's even lower. Apologies, I'm not going to waste too much time trying to find a single share. But in general, again, I think it's really interesting to see that approach where you've got multiple bespoke collars across. So that's the Arsenal shirt. That must be Benfica. Anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah, I really like this. And again, I'm going to guess I'm in a minority here, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, that's the Manchester United third shirt. Infamous now for unfortunate reasons if you're a United fan, but a shirt I actually really rate. I feel like I shouldn't, but I do. Here's the Norwich third shirt. This got a lot of love. Honestly, I'm not in love with this one, but I will say, as a collection, Joma have done a lot of good things. Of course, with the home, which I really rate, that's in the Volcano tier. You've got here a very classic look with the pinstripes. The away, which some people liked even more than the home, was a wonderful maroon and gold effort, and I'm trying to find that here. I'm pretty sure we also ranked that very high. Yeah, here we go. Here's the away. And then the third is probably my weakest of the three. It's just on the United as well. Gareth says, I heard the United colourway called Slime and everyone else was official label. Yeah, what was that? I heard that as well on the podcast, and I can't remember the name, but it was a ridiculous name. But yeah, on Norwich, great point to mention Hilti Voices and Alexi and Lotus as a sponsor. It is a great sponsor. So understated, but it works, and obviously has a historical connection as well. Yeah, this one, it felt a bit kind of who was the team that had the EA Sports fourth kit? Was it Juventus? Had the kind of pearlescent vibe. Honestly, so here's the thing. It sounds like I'm being really down on it. I actually think this is a solar sign. That was it, Gareth. Unbelievable name. It sounds like a joke, doesn't it? But that was the actual name. Yeah, this Norwich kit, I think as a collection it's a really strong home and away third combo. I would personally rank this probably lower end of the Flames tier. I think I'll put it in the Flames tier because I think getting this kind of pattern, which, you know, it goes all the way in the back, and I think this kind of pearlescent, iridescent kind of colourway, I think is really nice to see on a third kit. And I also appreciate the plain black or the kind of recoloured details. It really allows the pattern to shine. Yeah, personally I'd take the home first, the away probably second, and the third in third if I was to order the Norwich kits. But if you're a Norwich fan, you know, you cannot complain too much. Again, to get this kind of treatment, I mean, the away there, I probably should bump them up a little bit. But let's stick the third in the gap there. It's really good stuff. It's really good stuff. Even though it's, you know, not really to my taste. I think I'd probably like this style in a different colourway a bit more. You know, I think there's something about it. It is a bit too leisure wear for me, but I still think it's a hot shirt. And it's, you know, a great effort from Joma. Ballum jumping in. Good to see you, Ballum. It says Norwich kits have gotten better. Yeah, Ben and Jerry's colours indeed. Haunted Roger. John Guy says someone left the wrong socks in the washer. Ballum also saying, hello fun everybody. Quick question, do you like the new LSC third kit? Honestly, it's one of the weaker kits I think we've had from Nike. I just don't love the colours. The dark green and the red. Yeah, I much prefer the away, even though it's a little bit mad. And I think I'd even take the kind of teal away that we had recently from Nike. But it is fine. it's a little bit underwhelming if I'm honest. But you know, it'll be good to see on pitch, and I'd expect it to be popular. What do you think, mate? What do you think of the kit, especially in comparison to the home and away? Guys, I think just looking here, this feels like a nice place to leave it with the Bayern Munich third kit. And yeah, we'll pick up next week with some of the Brazilian efforts, and we've got a lot of them to talk about, as well as I'm really looking forward to ranking the Bromby shirt as well, or the Bromby shirt, I should say. But let's finish with Bayern Munich, and let's finish with the third kit. This is a really interesting design, and I didn't realise the story exactly, but I believe, and you can see in the promo shots, there's stuff with playing cards. I think that's the theme here, or maybe not. Was it got hearts? I don't know. Is that a spade? I don't know. But anyway, honestly, even though you know, the pattern, to me it's a bit random. I don't know the story here, but this to me has a very kind of fashion feel, like a Louis Vuitton feel. And we've seen a few shirts that have gone down this direction, of course. I'm glad, you know, Bayern of course have had black and gold recently, so it's no surprise I've not done another black and gold kit. But I actually don't mind these kind of kits where you've got something like a black base or a dark base or any colour, but then you use the home kit colours as the accent colour, or the primary colour of your team as an accent colour. I think in general I don't mind that direction. Yes, that pattern could go on the back. I don't think that that detail is bespoke to the kit, but that's fine. Also the collar, it's quite a flexible collar, but you know, it's fine, it doesn't detract too much. But no, I think the general direction is quite interesting, but you know, I'd like to see this. I guess, you know, it probably doesn't help that we're not seeing this in Adidas's latest heat ready spec. That would probably help a lot. But yeah, so it feels like a kind of fashion led design, and I actually think the overall effect is quite good. And I think that what's key for me is not just the red, but it's the shade of red. You can't see it necessarily very well on my desktop here, it looks a bit washed out, but I think on some of the pictures it's a nice vibrant shade of red, which I think looks good. If anything, I'd probably have it a little bit more vibrant, but no, I would probably say, I don't know if I could put it in the flames tier. I think it's high candle, very high candle for me. From Bayern. Yeah, but honestly, again, I think if we saw like a bit of the pass on the back, and if you saw it probably in the heat ready spec, which I've not seen pictures of, but I think that probably almost certainly would bump it up, and it's probably unfair because that does sway my rankings a lot of the time. We'll stick them above New York Red Bulls there. We'll stick them right on the edge of the candle and the flames tier. Hortivorgis says he really likes the details. The Schafkopf details. Yeah, could you tell me the story behind that, Hortivorgis? I see. It's a classic Bavarian card game. Very nice. I did not know that. So you've got symbols of acorn, which is representing the club, grass for spade, heart and bells or diamonds. Huh. That's a nice concept. You know what? That's a really nice concept, and I think they've done a good job there. The cup doesn't go all the way around. Yep, that's it, John Carl. That's the kind of thing which I like to spot as well, and that's no reason for that to happen. Luke, still on holiday, managed to tune in. Thank you so much, mate. Honestly, guys, I'm you know, there's a small group of us here now as the stream comes to a close, but it really does mean everything to have your support. And I say it every stream, but I really do genuinely, you know, seeing familiar names and some new faces from time to time as well. Thank you so much. It really does mean everything. Garrison, I laugh at Audi trolls its rival brands by sponsoring the team under BMW's nose. Intra-Bavarian one-upmanship, indeed. Indeed. So guys, that's been the Hot Wall today. It's been a fun stream. We got through a lot of kits. The highest ranked one ended up being Inter. But we had other strong efforts. I'm thinking Roma, which honestly was close to going in. And I think in general, yeah, another couple of good Serie A shirts for this season. Bit of everything though. It's been fun as always. And most of all, I've just enjoyed your company. So thank you for your time this afternoon. Yeah, thank you for stopping by. I think, yeah, it's a good point. John Carr saying as releases have slowed, I think we are catching up now. So Tuesday, all being well, guys, we will go to eBay, and as you would have seen in my latest what I'm buying video, we picked up a great PSG shirt the other day. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for. We'll see how we do. But thank you, guys. Thank you, Horty Voyager. It's been fun, guys. Thank you, mate. Thank you, Gareth. Great to have you along, mate. He says you're welcome. We love what you put together. Thank you, Gav. I mean, it's been so fun. This undertaking has been pretty massive, and at times I thought, is this a bit silly? But honestly, seeing it now, I'm really happy with how it's looking. And of course, at the end of the year, it'll be quite fun to look back, and we can tell some stories. And then, yeah, I think it'll be really fun to look back on. So thank you, mate. Thank you, Ballum. Yeah, thank you, John Carr, and many others who have watched and tuned in. Guys, I hope you have a good, if I don't speak to you before, have a good weekend, good rest of your week. If I don't speak to you on Twitter, I'll see many of you, I'm sure, on Tuesday. So have a good one. Thank you again for your support as always. I'll see you very soon, and enjoy one of the new tracks that I've had for the channel as we go to the outro scene. Thank you, guys. See you soon.